What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I just watched a video on YouTube by a fellow YouTuber of mine. His channel name is Boost in Motion, and he had a discussion where he was comparing the 3.7 versus the 3.0 Infiniti Q50s. The video was a great video, great watch, lots of good information out there. Shout out to you, Kev. I think personally I'm going to give you guys my opinion on what those two platforms have to offer, seeing that I had both of them and I have modified both cars. So with that being said, I'm going to give you guys my opinion on what I think is best for you, depending on what you're looking for as a customer and what the potential is for both platforms. Now, let's kick things off with the 3.7. So I initially came from a Nissan Maxima. It was a 3.5 VQ, and I decided to upgrade to an Infiniti Q50 3.7. First impression when I drove the car was, this car revs out to 7,500 RPM, and it's quick. I need this car. It wasn't a sport model or anything like that. It was the very basic package. I wouldn't say it wasn't the base model, but you know, it had like Bose sound system, and I think that was it. It was a premium. So I fell in love with that car. I drove it as a daily for a very long time, day in and day out. It never gave me any issues whatsoever, apart from regular maintenance. And I think I had a blowout one time, and that was really it. Now, with that being said, once we all get the mod bug, it does not go away, let's be honest. So I think I went through probably 5 sets of intakes, 2 exhaust systems. I know I did test pipes, exhaust, intakes. I also did injectors, fuel pump, bigger throttle bodies. I did the lower plenum, upper plenum, and a few other modifications that I did. Now the car, after it was tuned on IQ-Tech, made 315 wheel horsepower, and I think it made 265 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty good for an all-wheel drive, you know, 3.7 BQ in terms of power-wise. Now that wasn't enough for me, so I decided to go up for, no, let's try E85. So I did the bigger injectors, GTR injectors, and I decided to go with E85. Now I don't think I got the E85 tune dialed in completely, because even then when I sold the car, I was still having issues with the 85 tune. So when I decided to part out, I think that was kind of like the point where I was like, you know what, this E85 is giving me issues. This is the point where I've reached where it's not smart to continue throwing, you know, bolt-ons to this car. It's not getting that much faster unless I throw a supercharger on it. By that time, I had probably spent, I don't know, $5 grand in bolt-ons, maybe 6 in bolt-ons. Not to mention, you know, the install cost of some things that I couldn't do myself. So at that point, that was a stopping point for me. If I had to do it all over again, chances are I would probably just got a set of test pipes, an exhaust system, and I would have gotten a still a supercharger and just call it a day. With a still and supercharger, and I think Kevin and I can both agree on this, with a still and supercharger and supporting mods, you can make north of 500 wheel horsepower on pump gas and around 380 foot-pounds of torque, which is really quick for a car that, you know, for a bolt-on supercharger kit that you're throwing at it. I think also the VQ is a lot better in the aspect of like roll racing, because that 3.0 from a dig is something else, but the 3.7, being that it has a lot less torque, I think from a roll it's going to be the quicker car. And it depends what you put it up against. Of course, it's not an unbeatable car, but it's a very quick car from a roll. And that's why I think I like the 3.0 better, because it picks up a lot quicker from a dig as opposed to a 3.7. Now that brings me to this point where if you're someone who just got into the Infiniti game, you got yourself a used 3.7 that you can, you know, drive around or whatnot. If you plan to modify that, I would highly suggest, if you want to make it fast, just throw a supercharger on it and supporting mods and call it a day. I think the full bolt-on game, yes, while it is fun, you know, going through each bolt-on and seeing the difference is really not that much between each bolt-on on the 3.7. It's a very expensive platform to modify, and unless you know what you're in for, I would highly suggest just take the alternative route, or go to a 3.0, which leads me to my next comparison. Now, after owning a 3.0 for the last 8 months, I think it's fair that I can give you guys this video having both platforms and whatnot. I think I can make a fair comparison. So having a 3.0 for the past 8 months, I've thrown, you know, minimal amounts of cash to it, and it's already making more power than I could have imagined from that motor. So I have the 3.0 Sport, which is a 300 horsepower variant. I threw lower downpipes on it, a full catback exhaust system. I also put a bigger heat exchanger, different intakes, and it has an Ecutech tune by AMS. So initially that car made 450 to the wheel and 485 foot-pounds of torque. And since then the car has had a couple of revisions where it's actually, I've put it back on the dyno and it's made a little bit of more power, but that's for a future video. Now, that car is making so much torque and so much power that to this day I still can't believe Infiniti left that much on the table. A lot of people are going to argue it only revs up to 7,000 RPM, if that. It doesn't sound as good. The idle is very loud due to the direct injection. Yes, all those things are true. It does not sound like a VQ, nor will ever sound like a VQ. People have gotten close to it, but they're never gonna mimic that same iconic sound that a 3.7 can produce. So you guys are gonna have to just kind of sacrifice something for the love of the 3.0. Now, I think I speak for a lot of people who have this argument a lot of the times and are faced with reality that the 3.0 is just simply a platform that has more out-of-the-box potential as opposed to a 3.7. There's a lot of steps you have to go through to make it, an actual really fast car. Like some of these 3.0s are just coming out with a tune, and boom, you're at 400 wheel horsepower with just a tune. That's pretty insane. So I don't think either platform is wrong for you. Me personally, I prefer the 3.0 because of how less expensive it is to modify and how easier it is to get to the power level I'm comfortable with on a day-to-day basis as a daily driver, without having to sacrifice tons and tons of dollars. So if you're someone who's looking for a 3.7, by all means, more power to you. I highly recommend the car. The 3.7 engine has been around for over 10 years, and it's been, to this day, it's still one of the most preferred engine by, JDM enthusiasts like myself. So I would highly recommend a 3.7. If you're someone who's looking, to get power right out the box, you can get a 3.0, tune it up, and you're on your way. And I don't think you can go wrong with either one. Since we're on this topic, for this last part of the video, I'd like to make a quick discussion, or a quick point I should say, as to which 3.0 is right for you. You have the Premium, or as now known as the Lux, you have your Sport, and you have your Red Sport. Now, I'll break it down for you guys. The Lux is more so like a luxury kind of trim. It doesn't have the big brake package. It doesn't have a lot of the stuff that the Sport models have, like the oil cooler, the final gear ratio is different on the Red Sports, etc. The Sport comes pretty much with everything the Red Sport does, minus those three things. It does not come with the different final gear ratio. It does not come with the turbine speed sensors on the turbos. It does not come with the extra water pump. So, if you are someone who's never going to tune an Infiniti Q50 or Q60 3.0, by all means, go purchase a Red Sport, because you're going to get exactly what you want. A fast car out the gate from the factory with warranty, all that good stuff, good to go. But if you're someone who's going to tune this car, please Red Sport guys, do not take this the wrong way, but do not get a Red Sport. You can get a Sport model in 2017, 2018, 2016, whatever you decide to buy it, but it'll come with just everything you need to make sure you get more power than a Red Sport when tuned. So both engines are the exact the same. So when you tune both of these engines, whether it's a Red Sport, a Lux, it does not matter. It's gonna make the same amount of power tuned. The only difference is that one engine has an extra water pump and it has a different final gear ratio. Now, personally, that extra water pump, don't let that throw you off. All you really need is an upgraded heat exchanger, because the heat exchanger from the factory in these cars is laughable. Some of you guys have experienced things like heat soaking. So you beat on the car, a stock car, or even when you tune it without an upgraded heat exchanger, you beat on it for about 10 minutes and you realize the car doesn't have the same pickup it's really slow, the shifts start to get even more laggy, that's your experience in what's called heat soak. The engine is up to a certain temperature that it does not seem it to be safe to operate at that performance level you're trying to get out of the car, so it kind of detunes the car for you until it cools off and says, okay, try again. So the first thing that should be done to this car is upgraded cooling. Myself, I have a heat exchanger upgraded from AMS. I think there's a couple of options up there for you guys. You know, you have Frozen Boost, and I think you have Visconti, and you have, of course, the AMS one. Burger Tuning has another one as well. So you got a number of options, different price points. I'll leave that up to you guys, but you want to be smart about this, guys. When you make a purchase such as a car, let's be honest, cars these days are not an investment. I don't care which way you guys look at it. It's not an investment. It's not an asset. If you're making payments on the car, you're not doing anything that's making you money in the end. Especially if you're a car enthusiast, that's going right out the window. So I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. Go ahead and get yourself that 3.0 Lux or Sport. If you plan on tuning, just do your downpipes, your exhaust, intakes if you like to, and just a tune. You'll be in the close to mid 400 wheel horsepower range and close to 500 torque range. With only spending maybe $2-3 grand in those mods alone. So again, the 3.0, guys, I think is a smarter buy in today's age where everyone's worried about who's fastest and whatnot. But also for the long run, turbos are becoming a thing of the future. I think we're starting to see more and more platforms with turbos out of the box, and they're reliable. But this platform is limited to a certain point. As Kevin mentioned in his video, by the way, go to subscribe to his channel, Boost in Motion, guys. Link will be in the description. As he mentioned, these turbos are really tiny, so they are limited to a certain amount of power. After you get to around 5250, the power kind of linears out, depending on which kind of downpipes do you have. If you have lower downpipes, it starts to fall off a little bit sooner. But if you have full downpipes, the power carries on a little bit longer, and it kind of just flattens out. It doesn't drop, but it kind of flattens out. So that's the downside to these turbos. You don't make power all the way to redline. You make power as much as the turbos allow you to. So without upgraded turbos, unfortunately, this car is limited to a certain power level with what I just said, basic bolt-ons and a tune. Now there is E85 out there for it. Personally, have not done the E85 high pressure fuel pump for mine, and that's something maybe I'll do in the future. But as long as you guys can tell the difference between each platform and you know what you want, I think you have a pretty good option. You can't go wrong with either one. So thank you for watching the video, and guys, I don't say this in my videos, but please subscribe. I really want to get more content out to you guys, but I really appreciate you guys if you guys smash that subscribe button, and I can bring you more content. See you in the next one.